everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are tackling something that honestly used to mystify me, but now that I get it, I use it all the time. Yeah, sinking funds. They're seriously like financial game changers. And today we have, as always, an amazing expert to help us really break it down.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to dive into this. We've got some really interesting research here ready to unpack how to make sinking funds work for you, and not just like what they are in theory.
Okay, I'm already sold just from that intro.
And get this, studies are showing the folks who actually actively use sinking funds are way more likely to reach their savings targets. Like way more, like 30% more likely.
Okay, wow, that's impressive. But before we get too far ahead, let's start with the basics here. What exactly are sinking funds? I mean, I think I get it, like they're for planned expenses, right? But how are they different from just like regular savings? Is it just like a different name for the same thing?
No, that's a great question, and it's one we get a lot. It's important to understand the distinction. So think of it this way. Savings, like overall savings is kind of like that big rainy day fund, right? It's there for like the unexpected stuff. Sinking funds, on the other hand, are like those mini savings missions, but with a very specific focus. You know exactly what you're saving for. It could be anything like a new car, a down payment on a house, even your like annual holiday shopping spree. Each of those gets its own dedicated fund.
Okay, so it's not just chucking everything into one big pot. It's more like you're creating all these little mini accounts, each with its own purpose and like its own deadline. That actually makes a ton of sense. It's like it makes those bigger goals feel way less overwhelming.
Exactly, exactly. It's about breaking it down into those manageable chunks. And speaking of manageable, let's talk about how to put this into action. How do you actually use sinking funds?
Hit me with it. Give me that step by step. I want to become like a sinking fund ninja.
Okay, love that energy. So the first thing you got to do is identify what expenses you have coming up, right?
Right.
What's on the horizon for you? Is it a wedding you need to attend? Maybe your car is getting a little up there in miles, or even those annual insurance payments that always seem to sneak up on you.
Oh, don't even get me started on those insurance premiums. It's like they just materialize out of nowhere every year. Bam, there it is.
Yeah, those are definitely good candidates for a sinking fund. So let's say, for example, you know you need to replace your phone soon. The new one you're eyeing is like $1,000,
Mm.
and you want to have that saved up, I don't know, let's say in 6 months.
Okay, so doing some quick math here in my head, that means setting aside like $167 every month. See, I told you I was a math whiz.
Boom, exactly.
Yeah.
Now comes the really satisfying part. Separating out those savings. Open up dedicated accounts, or even like sub-accounts within your bank, whatever works for you, for each sinking fund goal. Think of it like giving each one its own little compartment. You can watch it grow. You can see your progress.
Ooh, organization, my love language. Plus, it just makes it feel more real, like you're actually making progress towards those goals.
Exactly. And speaking of making progress, let's talk about the magic of automation. This is where sinking funds really become your financial secret weapon. So remember that, like $167 a month for the new phone. Don't rely on just like willpower to make that happen. Like set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your dedicated phone sinking fund every single month. You don't even have to think about it.
So it's kind of like paying yourself first, but for those like very specific goals instead of just general savings. I love this. But
Yeah.
what about when, life throws a curveball and
Yeah.
you might need to like adjust those contributions?
Yeah, that's where regular reviews come in. It's crucial to check in on your sinking funds every, say, 3 months or so. Make sure those automatic transfers are still doing their thing. And then, adjust those contributions up or down as needed. Maybe you got a bonus at work. Boom, bump up that savings rate. Or maybe you had like an unexpected expense and need to scale back for a bit.
This is starting to feel less like a chore and more like a strategic game plan, Like I'm the CEO of my own little financial empire. Right? I love this. Okay, I'm sold on the steps. But what about categories? What are some like specific things I should be considering just to get those sinking fund juices flowing?
Awesome question. It really does depend on your lifestyle and your goals. But some common categories that keep popping up in our research are things like home maintenance,
Right.
like your house, right? That always needs something. Car maintenance, because cars, they're money pits, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And then there are those like inevitable holiday expenses, and then, personal events like birthdays and anniversaries. And this is the fun part. Don't forget about those fun things like travel. Hobbies. Those things deserve a sinking fund too.
Okay, yeah, those are all really great starting points. I can already picture myself like sipping cocktails on a beach, knowing that my vacation sinking fund has got me covered. Stress-free spending. Here I come. But before we get too carried away dreaming of like tropical getaways, I think it's time to dive into the real nitty-gritty, the benefits. What are we really gaining here by using sinking funds?
Okay, so we've got our sinking fund game plan, right? We know those steps. We've got some categories. But what about the why? What are the real payoffs of using sinking funds? Why should we care?
Oh, there are tons of benefits. But honestly, I think one of the biggest ones is that feeling of being in control. You're not constantly reacting to like financial surprises. You're proactively planning and saving for stuff you know is coming down the pike.
It's like that feeling when you ace a test you really studied hard for.
Yeah.
No last-minute cramming, just like calm confidence because you prepared, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And remember we were talking about like people using sinking funds being way more likely to actually reach their savings goals? Well, I think a lot of that boils down to peace of mind
Hmm.
and that sense of control. When you're not constantly stressing about money, you're more likely to actually stick to your plan.
It's like that saying, a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. But with sinking funds, you're taking it a step further, right? You're actually like setting aside the money for those specific goals. No more just wishing and hoping. You're actually making it happen.
Right. And that kind of leads into another big benefit, just like less financial anxiety overall. I mean, think about how stressful it is to get hit with a huge car repair bill, or you
Yeah.
suddenly have to figure out how to like buy a wedding gift. Those things can really throw a wrench in your budget.
Yeah, definitely.
But with sinking funds, those things just become like another line item in your budget, not a reason to panic or right.
It's like having that financial buffer so you can actually enjoy those special occasions or deal with unexpected repairs without stressing about like going into debt to cover it.
Exactly. And honestly, I think when you're not constantly worrying about money, it just like frees up so much mental space for other things. Like you
Mhm.
can actually focus on your career or, your relationships or even just like pursuing those things you're passionate about.
So sinking funds aren't just about managing money. They're about like improving your like overall sense of well-being. That's pretty cool.
It really is. But okay, let's be real for a second. No financial strategy is perfect, right?
Right.
So what are like some of the potential downsides or challenges people might run into when they're trying to use sinking funds?
Yeah, good point. We've been, singing the praises of sinking funds, but I think it's always important to look at both sides of the coin. What could go wrong?
For sure. So one thing that comes up is that, sinking funds do require some discipline and consistency. It's easy to get all excited at the beginning when you set up your accounts and make those first few contributions. But the real test is whether you can keep that momentum going month after month, even when life gets hectic.
So it's kind of like going to the gym, right? The best results come from showing up consistently, not just when the motivation hits you.
Yeah, exactly. And, since we're talking about sticking to the plan, it's also important to be mindful of opportunity cost. Like by setting aside money in sinking funds, you might be like technically missing out on potential growth that you could get through investing that money instead.
So it's about finding that balance, right, between those short-term savings goals and those long-term investment strategies.
Exactly. Sinking funds are like a fantastic tool for handling planned expenses, but they shouldn't be your only financial strategy. You should still be investing for retirement and, building up a diversified portfolio and all that other good stuff.
Okay, I'm getting it. Sinking funds. Not a magic bullet, but definitely a really valuable tool to have in your financial toolbox.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But before we get to our grand finale, there's one more like benefit I want to touch on that we haven't really talked about yet.
Ooh, I love a good cliffhanger. What is it?
I think it's the power of anticipation. Think about it. How much more do you enjoy something when you've really been looking forward to it?
Okay, I see where you're going with this. It's like that feeling when you finally get to open a present you've had your eye on for like months, right? The anticipation makes it that much sweeter.
Exactly. And that's what sinking funds can do for your finances. Instead of dreading those big expenses, you're actually excited about them, right?
Mm.
Because you've been intentionally saving and preparing for them. It's like giving yourself a gift.
Okay.
But like you're also teaching yourself those like super valuable financial lessons along the way.
So it's not just about reaching the destination, it's about enjoying that whole process, like the journey of saving and knowing that you're the one in control of your financial future.
I like that. That's a totally new perspective on saving.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've covered the benefits really thoroughly. Are we ready to wrap things up with a powerful outro?
I think so. Let's give our listeners a nice, clear call to action and just remind them how much they can achieve with sinking funds on their side.
Okay, so we've made it to the end of our sinking fund deep dive. We've covered the what, the why, the how, and now it's time for like the really exciting part, right? Putting all of this knowledge into action.
Absolutely. It's time to move from theory to practice. So start building some sinking funds that are going to help you achieve those financial goals and, live a less stressful, more empowered life. So I'm thinking we can turn this into a little challenge. What do you think? Think about that one thing you've been wanting, but maybe you felt a little, guilty about spending the money on. Maybe it's a weekend trip or a new gadget or even those concert tickets you've had your eye
Yeah,
on.
whatever it is, no judgment here. We all have those things, right? Those little indulgences that bring us joy.
Mm,
The trick is to plan for them so they don't like totally derail your budget or end up with a bunch of credit card debt.
exactly. So right now, I want you to grab like a pen and paper or open up that notes app on your phone. And I want you to write down that one thing you're going to start a sinking fund for.
And don't be afraid to get specific here. How much do you need to save? By when do you want to hit your goal? What are those little steps you can take each day or each week to make it happen?
And remember, like, even small contributions totally add up over time. Maybe you skip your daily latte and put that $5 into your sinking fund instead. Or, challenge yourself to cook at home a couple of extra nights a week, and you can put that restaurant money towards your goal.
Yeah, exactly. Get creative with it. The important thing is to make it, fun and rewarding so you actually stick with it and you start seeing those sinking funds grow.
And hey, we want to hear all about your sinking fund journeys. Head over to our social media, share your goals, your progress, any tips or tricks you've picked up along the way. Let's build like a whole community of savvy savers who can cheer each other on and prove that financial empowerment is totally possible for everyone.
Because that's what this is all about. Taking control of your money, reducing that financial stress, and creating a life where you can actually confidently pursue your dreams, whether they're big or small.
So go forth, fellow deep divers, and start sinking those funds. Until next time, happy saving.